Where we are today. There were also some today reporting that the ACC and teams were trying to or ESPN and ACC teams were trying to blow up the contract. Paul, why would they do that? Why would any of the teams in the ACC, why would ESPN do that?
Well, they would be robbing themselves to pay themselves. It wouldn't make them really any more money. I mean, like, they would cost themselves money to make money later on. I mean, the television contract that the ACC has is with ESPN. Now, if ESPN has some way to negotiate itself out of that contract that it has to get those other teams, look, the teams that would get left out of the ACC and the ACC network, which I would assume that would cease to be, would sue ESPN. And, is it going to be worth the juice to get the squeeze? What would have to happen is I don't know around the grant of rights would assume. I don't know how there's a way.
Why would any of the teams who are going to be left behind allow that to happen?
None.
No.
I mean, there's no way. Like, the only way to do it is for all teams to be like, look, we're done with this conference.
Not all of them. I mean, I remember when the Big 12 was around and they were talking about Oklahoma and Texas pass out of the Big 12 without having to pay a dime. And if you'll remember, because Twitter's the place of just freezing cold takes, there were more than a number of people. There's a handful of people or so that I recall that were predicting that the Big 12 was going to fall apart, and then what that would do was you were going to have these teams either bolt for the Pac-12 or wherever they were supposed to bolt for, and then that would leave the conference at a certain number where it dissolved the grant of rights, and then boom, the Big 12's over, and Oklahoma and Texas get to walk away. That was the big talking point this time a year ago or almost a year ago. And I guess that's the route that people are talking about with the ACC, is something similar to that happening. Obviously, that never happened with the Big 12. No one else left besides Oklahoma and Texas. And I've seen all the different scenarios that have been put out there as far as what the ACC could do. And I've seen a lot about this Pac-12 partnership and what that could entail. And I just still maintain it's basically just delaying the inevitable. And I don't really still get too much out of this partnership that makes a whole lot of sense to me, quite frankly. I guess if you're the Pac-12, you're doing everything you possibly can to try to stay alive. And for the ACC, you're trying to do every possible thing you can to be as strong as you can and to, for all intents and purposes, also stay alive in so many ways. I mean, you're good contract-wise for a while, but I think all this talk that we're having about a conference who hasn't really made any move, it's over the fear of what they're going to probably lose in the future. So they're trying to make proactive moves. They can't outright just merge because then that dissolves contracts and then boom, what happens? Everybody just leaves. So, yeah, it's very interesting. A lot of just throwing stuff at the wall, which is kind of what happens during realignment, and a little seed of truth here and there, but not much in the way of movement and certainly not anything in the way of making me change my mind that this whole Pac-12 ACC thing is some great idea. I still think it sounds really kind of just dumb.
I do know this. If you are the Big 12, last year you were the one that was trying to get picked apart. You were the one that was being people were hunting for your people. You're hunting for your members. Big 12 is now the hunter. The Big 12 is now the one that's acting upon. Yeah, there's a big difference. And no matter what you've heard, that is a big difference than whatever might happen. And I keep seeing, even nationally, and maybe because of the love of the Blue Bloods and because the Big 12 does not have what you call the ultimate of brands, that there is still a chance that they get picked apart. I can't believe that. I don't believe that. And I believe that's completely untrue. So there we are with that today. We're going to hear from Matt Fortuna.